Hello, good people of social studies. Today we're going to talk about how to do your source analysis. So, here is what I suggest you do if you are at home and you are not in class. My recommendation is to go into D2L, go to our course 30-1, click on resources, click on content, and once you get there, take a look at Unit 1. And here I have source analysis example. You can click on that, and there is an example from a few years ago. And how do I zoom in? Oh, well, whatever. You can zoom in. And so my recommendation is take a look at this. So we have one source, another source, and a third source. So what do we have? We've got a quote from Ayn Rand, which is more right wing, and then we've got an excerpt from the Edmonton Journal, which is a little more left wing, and then we've got a political cartoon, which we will take a look at here. This is more of a left wing political cartoon, a bit of an anti capitalist cartoon. Okay, and now that you've sorry for that interruption. So those are the three sources. And so here's what you need to do. You need to interpret each source to demonstrate your understanding of how each source links to liberalism. So for each of these sources, you need to write a paragraph in which you explain what the source is all about and also explain how it's related to liberalism. Is it in favor of liberalism? Is it against liberalism? Which principles of liberalism does this source embrace? Which principles of liberalism does this source reject? Which form of liberalism does it embrace or reject? So anyway, you got to do that for 3 paragraphs, and then in your last paragraph, you need to explain the relationships that exist among all 3 sources. So my recommendation for that is to sort of try to identify a major theme that is addressed by all 3 sources, or try to identify a question that they are all trying to answer, right? And then explain how these sources relate to each other. Do the sources agree with each other? Do they disagree with each other? Do they have different opinions on the topic or the theme that they all address? Okay. And so altogether, you will have written 4 paragraphs. And you can continue scrolling down and you can see examples of students who have done this assignment in the past. So this first student scored a grade of 60% or satisfactory. So read what they wrote. Take a look at the 4 paragraphs that this student wrote and try to understand, okay, well, what's good about this? What's missing? Why did they get 60%? And then when you scroll down a little further, you will see that a student got a grade of proficient with me, which means 80%. And then read through their paragraphs and try to understand, okay, what did they do better than the last kid? And why did they get a grade of 80%? And then finally, you'll come across the student who scored excellent. This kid got 100%, right? And try to read through what they wrote and try to understand why they scored a grade of 100%. What was so good about theirs? And then once you've done that, you can take a look at the source analysis checklist. This is a list of recommendations that I have for you, of recommendations of what to put in each paragraph. Okay, so you can see paragraph number 1, in which you interpret source 1. Here's what I suggest you write about. And then paragraph number 2, same thing, only on source 2. Paragraph number 3, you do the same thing, only on on source 3. And then lastly, for paragraph 4, here's what I recommend you do for the relationships paragraph, the last paragraph. And so you can use that when you're doing your source analysis this week. And you can also, additionally, if you have a little extra time, you can take a look at the January 2016 and the January 2014 source exemplars. So for these ones, these are not complete essays, okay? These are not complete source analyses. Instead, what I did is I had students take a look at just one paragraph at a time. So what do we have here? January 2016, source 2. So here I will show you what I'm talking about. So January 2016, source 2. So you can take a look at this. This was source 2 in the January 2016 source analysis. Okay, so if you wanted, you could pause this video and you could read it. And then once you've read it, then you can read the response that a student wrote for that particular source in January 2016. Right, you can read this one, and you can read this other response that they wrote for that source, and then a third kid wrote this response for that source, and you can compare them and try to understand what was good about one and what was good about the other. And then you can do the same thing for the January 2014, but the January 2014 is this one. Okay, so January 2014, source 1. Okay, and so you can read this source here by pausing this video, and then you can go and you can take a look at what 3 different students wrote about that particular source. Okay, so these are not complete essays. These are just paragraphs pulled specifically about those sources. Okay, and for that one, I was smarter and I actually put the source at the top of the page. Okay, so if you do those things, I hope that you will be feeling like you know what you're going to do for the source analysis, which you are doing this week. And the source analysis, if you are at home, I'm going to be sending you a Google form, and you can type your answer. You can type your source analysis into that Google form. Okay, so that's going to come out this week. And if you have questions, as always, please just send me an email, and I'm happy to help you out however you need it. Okay? All right. I hope that helps. Have a good day. See you later.